Hello everyone, welcome to Astro Night Live. Once a month, me and Alejo will bring you some interesting subjects related to beginner learning astrology. So while we were discussing what should we talk this month, well, we got a few suggestions, but usually is a no-go zone there, like what happened? What recently argument in astrology world community? Why I'm talking about that? I say we say we
I
don't have
don't
to mention that.
know.
Okay,
Yeah, I thought we were not going to mention that.
yeah, I'm really sorry, but that is that fiercey and spicy. That is kind of ooh
You like
yay.
it. In the end, you like it. You would love to be like a journalist in these kind of newspapers where they talk about nasty things about.
You don't know my job before I become astrologer.
You were a journalist.
I was a radio host.
It's true. Yeah, you told me. Yes, it's
And
true.
how could I be successful? Fantasy stuff.
Exactly. Yes,
Well,
exactly.
I don't go that way. I don't go that way because we really sincerely hope that we have a peaceful, beautiful community spirit. But today, what are we going to talk about? Because we say we're going to talk about something suitable for the beginner.
Yes, we're going to talk about Saturn. And the reason we chose to
Mm-hmm,
talk about Saturn
mm-hmm.
is that everybody's talking about Saturn now because he went into Pisces
Yep.
finally after 5 years of being in Capricorn and Aquarius. Now finally he's getting to.
Yeah, why say finally?
Come on, it
You
took a
had
long
enough?
time to get. I have this feeling that when it was in Capricorn and Aquarius, we had all of these fights about regulations and what the law should allow and should not allow and these kind of things. And now that it's going into Pisces, I think nobody cares anymore whether you're vaccinated, you're not vaccinated, you wear a mask, you don't wear a mask. It's like now we're going into
In
Pisces.
one way, but in one way, for some people who expecting some rule to follow when starting in Capricorn and starting in Aquarius, that's much easier. We just kind of like really retain the little sheep to just follow the rule. Just say do this and do that, vaccine or do this and wear mask, we wear the mask. A vaccine, you get a vaccine. Have five vaccine, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all injected into yourself.
I like it in Pisces. I like the idea that it's going to bring some chaos and some.
Oh yes, do you know? Do you know? Okay, because you don't usually focus on the political and the financial world. Do you know what happened recently? Saturn just moved into Pisces for 2, 3 days now, right? Since the 7th of
Yeah.
March, only 3 days from now. You know, Bitcoin, all the cryptocurrency coming down quite a lot. Like Bitcoin coming from the 20,000 US dollar to 16,000 US dollars. So like, and the
Wow.
Dow Jones and they few banks are in the emergency now, especially those crypto friendly banks. So those digital
Mm.
bank with the cryptocurrency are in the huge trouble. So yeah, that's the regulation you want.
I mean, I guess in one ways it's sad, but in other ways it's like I feel sometimes with finances there is all of these illusions about how to be rich, and it's all based on illusions and
Exactly.
fake expectations. So in some ways it's like, well, I don't know. I don't know. I cannot talk much
I no,
about it
I
because I
agree.
don't
No, no,
know
no.
enough about
No,
it.
I agree. I agree with you because you said illusion and the whole market is based on expectation and illusion. And then
Yeah.
there's a started moving into Pisces, so just like kind of wake you up. Hey, wake up. So let's go to with the Saturn go through. So we decided we will talk about the Saturn through the house in the natal chart. So like I suppose like Saturn. So today we will focus on the first six house. So from Saturn in the first house to Saturn in the sixth house. And next month, we will bring you from the Saturn from the seventh house to the 12th house, right?
Yes, I think it's important because Saturn stays in the same sign for 2 years and a half.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So people of your age will probably have Saturn on the same sign.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
it is important. I mean, of course, it's telling you something about how you relate to rules and regulations and authority
Yep.
figures. But I think it's more important to see in which house it's playing out
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
some role, because that's going to be more personal, because that depends on your midheaven
Agree.
and your ascendant. Yeah.
Yeah. So, which house system you use? I know for faculty you use equal house, right? Most
Of
of the
course, I use
faculty
equal
tutor,
houses.
yeah, most of the
Yes.
faculty tutor use equal house. I use Placidus. Well, but that doesn't matter really because you mentioned about MC and this and that. I was curious what house you use.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
okay, so let's starting from the Saturn in the first house. The first house, first house is about our appearance in the traditional astrology, but also related to how we connect with the world. When Saturn in the first house, does that mean we connect with the world in a Saturnian way?
Yeah, I would say we connect to the world in a Saturnian way. Now, what does it mean, a Saturnian way? I would say it means that we have this idea that the world will require effort, will require
Mm-hmm.
hard work. I
Mm-hmm.
mean that life requires work, that we cannot go
Mm-hmm.
through life without working,
Mm-hmm.
that we need to be perhaps self-responsible, we need to be kind of
Mm-hmm.
disciplined in our approach
Mm-hmm.
to life.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps there is this sense of um, a certain kind of restriction or limitation. So I think, you said that the first house describes the person physically, you said, like the
In the
appearance. I
traditional,
think
yeah.
yeah. So there might be that the person appears to be Saturnian. So the person appears to be a little bit authoritarian or appears to be a
Mm-hmm.
little bit serious or cautious.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe the person, uh, they appear to have this kind of boundary or a limit or restriction
Mm-hmm.
when they connect, when they want, so you see them come into the room and it's not like the most open,
Mm-hmm.
extroverted, outgoing person. They're more contained. There's a sense of
Mm-hmm.
containment, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So apparently, I think for that means this person connecting with the world or how he see the world, how they show in themselves is a
Yes.
kind of a little bit more contained and reserved and well, I think that probably not like not very flamboyant, not very
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree. And there is this, if the first house is how we approach life also, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's like our identity, like what people see in us.
Mm.
And Saturn also can represent our fears. It's not just restriction and limitations. It's a place that
Mm.
we fear, right? Where we have
Mm-hmm.
Saturn, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a place in which we meet our restrictions and limitations. So we fear that house.
Yeah.
So it could be that the person is fearful about starting things because that's the first house. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why they are cautious and they are
Mm-hmm.
perhaps self-contained. Perhaps the
Mm-hmm.
person is fearful of showing themselves too much, of showing too
Mm.
much who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's also, we don't see a flamboyant person. We see more like a contained
Mm-hmm.
person.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're fearful of depending on other people. So that's why we see also
Mm-hmm.
this autonomy, this sense of responsibility,
Mm.
self-discipline, and all of these
I
things.
I
I
like this
think,
type person.
I think, but I mean, there are, like with every planet, there are gifts with this, and also it might feel challenging because the person might feel like their sense of who they are is being questioned. So they
Mm.
constantly have to prove
Yeah.
who they
That
are.
that is another meaning of Saturn is definition. How you identify, how you definition something. And I really love this idea. Rather than say Saturn is bad or something or give you hard work or something, it's identify and the definition. So how you define something. And the first house is about ourselves, your personal things, personal identity. So how you define yourself. And that is a very interesting question when Saturn put it into the first house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Should we move to the next one?
Let's go to the second house, and I love Saturn here.
Oh, you love Saturn. Why? Most people will cry.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I don't love Saturn here. Most people will cry wherever they have Saturn. They say like, I wish I didn't
It's
have
true.
Saturn. Yeah.
Exactly.
What I love about this, it shows the difference between psychological astrology and other kinds of astrology.
Yes.
Because the second house, usually we relate it with the idea of resources and
Mm,
finances.
yeah.
So if you interpret this in a literal way, you will say
Mm,
that a person with Saturn in the second house was born to be poor. They will never have
yeah.
resources.
Restrict with money.
Exactly. But if you do psychological astrology like I do,
Mm-hmm.
this becomes not so much an objective reality, but a subjective reality. So the person feels that they have no access to resources. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've met, well, I don't know if you met, but I have definitely met people who are very wealthy, but they
Mm-hmm.
feel they don't have enough resources. So they could,
Okay.
doesn't necessarily describe somebody who doesn't have money, but
Mm-hmm.
somebody who feels, they're not
Mm-hmm.
abundant in life. And of course, yeah, I don't like that. I don't wish anybody to feel that.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the idea that it proves the difference between psychological astrology and other kinds of astrology. We care
Mm-hmm.
about the inner world. We don't care so much if it's because who says how much is a lot of money and how much is little money, right?
It's true. It's true. It's somehow like you can still see those people have a whole lot of money, but they still feel like insecure and about their material life, or how could I maintain my life like this or something. And then you can see some people without a lot of money or maybe just like very little basic like living something, and they just still they still like a appreciated that every day they have food and the simple food. I
Yeah.
think that's different from the view of the yes. If you see only see in the materialized way about the second house, you will only define it by how much money, how much saving in your bank account, or how much salary you win. But you get. But if you go to the psychological astrology, then that probably doesn't really matter. It's about the how you feel that. Another thing that I like in the modern astrology way approach is about your ability and the resource related to the second house. And I love that way because it's not just because Saturn in your second house, you're going to die with poverty, but you can use it. So you can use your Saturn quality, all the things related
Yeah.
to your Saturn to make profit. You don't need to really say make profit, but to apply it and then make your resource income or
Hmm.
something. So in that way, Saturnian way, you can be construction, you can be serious, you can be regulation, you can be authority. All these kind of things that help you to, to turn the Saturn into your what resource.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And
Mm.
also, there's this other approach which has to do with the second house as
Mm-hmm.
related to your self-esteem.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow.
So if Saturn is there, maybe there's also a fear about,
mm.
do I have
Mm-hmm.
the resources? Do I have what it takes? Do I have
Yeah.
worth? I am worth it. Am I
Uh-huh.
worth it?
Mm,
So perhaps with Saturn there, there's also a quest to, with Saturn, you have to go to the essence of things. So
mm,
there might be like a quest to find what's your essence and to
mm-hmm.
find worth and beauty and value in that.
I
So you
usually
have
take.
to, sorry?
Sorry. Sorry. You
No,
have
you
to
go on.
say.
What were you going to say?
I said usually it would take time as Saturn is the time consume symbol.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. It's
Mm,
going to take time
mm,
because it takes time because to mature takes time. You cannot speed it
mm,
up. It's like if
mm,
you're waiting for a plant to grow, you
mm-hmm,
cannot pull it up and make it
mm-hmm,
grow. You have to wait. There's something
mm,
that is a natural process that
yeah.
requires time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I think usually I think I'm kind of really enjoy the beauty of a modern astrology in this way. Is like to be honest, to be it is there is how what should I say? There is nothing really good or bad. Basically, how you use it, how you see it, and how you apply it. And this is what I really enjoy. So should we move to the Saturn in the third house?
Yes, let's.
Yeah, Saturn in the third house because third house is about the communication, sibling, and your the people around you, about especially your sibling and the neighborhood. So does that mean, well, in the interesting view, it's like you taking them very seriously?
Maybe, yes. You take what your brother say very serious. Maybe your brother is an authority. Yes.
Yeah, that could be. If you have a Saturn in the third house, that would be like like you get something like people around you very seriously, or they play the authority in your life. It's like,
Maybe you feel judged. You feel judged by your
oh,
neighbors, maybe.
oh my God, I don't want
Yeah.
that happen.
I don't want that to happen. It could also be the other way around. Maybe you
Yeah,
become the authority of your neighbor. So you're the one who knows how to do things, how things should be done. So they go to you when they don't know, is it allowed to have pets in the building? So they go to you. You are the authority, maybe.
I like that, and that gives you a chance to choose. So it's about somehow this could be people like my client or my student will ask me, yeah, what does that mean? Does that mean I have a brother or neighbor as an authority, or I could be the authority? I said, your choice. You know,
Mm.
if you don't
Yes.
want to play the authority, then make yourself authority. Then wow, I said that's
Yeah.
the beauty. That's the beauty because you can. It's your choice. You decide let other people become authority, or you take it back because that's your chart. In the end of the day, that's your chart. Let Saturn is in your third house. You want other people play your Saturn. Well, welcome. Let them do that. But if you don't want to, you take that rule back into your life.
Yeah, I would say like you meet Saturn through third house experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn what Saturn is about
Mm-hmm.
through your siblings, through your neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be through schooling, perhaps early schooling,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So Saturn manifests in these kind of situations, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how you learn what Saturn is about. And then as
Yep.
you learn what Saturn is about, you can learn what's about because you project it out there or because you
Mm-hmm.
play it out. But the
Mm-hmm.
idea is exactly, I agree with you. The idea is that you learn Saturn through the
Mm-hmm.
house where Saturn is, and in this case, it's the third house.
Yeah. And it's also, I think third house is also the way how we process our mind a little bit like a Mercury role, and also our
Hmm.
communication skill. They could go either way. Like in one way, some people would maybe think about your experience of learning in the childhood will be challenged. But
Yeah,
also,
yeah,
it's like yeah, and in another way, it would be like you take those basic education pretty seriously.
yeah. And maybe that's why it's challenging because you take so much commitment in your
Uh,
education that it
mm-hmm,
becomes very demanding and very challenging. And I
mm-hmm,
think what's interesting is not usually, but sometimes there's this development in which maybe at first you feel a restriction or a limitation or a fear towards the world of the mind.
mm-hmm,
So you feel maybe you're not smart enough, you're not fast enough, you're not clever enough.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But because you feel this frustration, if instead of escaping from it, you face it and face it and face it, again, Saturn takes you to the essence. So you discover
mm-hmm,
what is the essence of your mind, what is the essence of the way you think,
mm-hmm.
and you become a master in that. I mean, you end
Yeah,
up being genius.
I like the word you apply, essence. So if we move it to the fourth house,
Okay.
and this is the area of a family life, how does that mean? Does that mean you use the essence? Is that it teach you the essence of your family?
I think so. It takes you the essence of your family and
Mm-hmm,
the essence of your belonging. What is it that you
mm-hmm,
belong to?
mm-hmm,
So maybe you don't belong to the family you're given. Maybe your belonging
mm-hmm.
has to do with something more private, more intimate, something because it's the fourth house, so something hidden
Yeah.
within yourself. So
Mm-hmm,
I would say that first with Saturn in the fourth house, probably at first you feel somewhat alienated from your family. Maybe you have restrictive
mm-hmm,
codes from your family,
mm-hmm,
so you feel
mm-hmm,
you're being challenged, you're being questioned, you're not given
mm-hmm,
space to express your emotions, perhaps something
mm-hmm,
like that. And as you move forward, you realize that in the end, the ultimate authority on who you are, how you feel, and
mm-hmm,
what nurtures you, and what makes you feel safe is
mm-hmm.
within yourself. So maybe you realize that you belong to yourself ultimately.
Yeah. Mm. That is pretty interesting because while you're talking about that, I just suddenly have an idea because one of the Saturn's verb or its action is not many people like it, but we hear quite often is denying. And if this this denying happen inside of family, like you say, you could be,
Hmm.
kind of feel rejected from the family, or you either learn how to be independent or how to be strong about yourself, or how to deal with that kind of um
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is kind of a hard lesson. I think, especially if in angular house, it's kind of a what do we say, the four pillars, the four huge in area of our life, and especially in the family. So these kind of things make them have to train harder to become stronger in their life.
I think so, yeah. And I think
Mm,
what's interesting also is to remind everyone that's listening, if you
yeah.
have children, for instance, and you suddenly discover they have Saturn in the fourth, and you're like, I'm the worst mother or father in the world. I'm not giving my child
Yeah.
what they need. I would say, again, I would emphasize the idea of a subjective experience. This doesn't
Yeah.
mean that the family was evil, that the
Uh-huh,
parents
uh-huh.
didn't love their children. It means
Mm-hmm.
that for some reason, this soul, if you want to, or this psyche, or this
Mm-hmm.
inner, I don't know, essence,
Mm-hmm.
felt somewhat cut off from this environment. And
Yeah.
there might be cases in which the family deliberately did
Mm-hmm.
something that caused this,
Mm-hmm.
but there might be cases in which, the parents did what they could.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know that would be interesting because that's not only quality of a Saturn about the denying or refusion or rejection. They could be just like, oh my God, I see my parents, they are so serious and they try so hard
Mhm.
with me. And that's the
Exactly.
image of Saturn. Or they feel so frustrated with me. I don't know what have I done.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I really, I mean, well, to be honest, um, I don't have kids. So I do feel like when every time I heard about parents care about their children, about the child, I was just like, "Ooh, take it easy." But I don't know. I couldn't say that. Of course, once their kid, that's their kids, and that's their treasure, that's their life, and that you just have to be nice with them, and try to try to make them feel not that terrible, like make them feel like I'm a terrible parent. No, you probably not. If you want to spend the time and the money sitting in front of me discussion about your children, you're probably not a bad parent.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about children. Should we move to the fifth house?
Actually, yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, let's go
Yes.
to yeah, fifth house because traditionally the kids is related to fifth house, and also we in the modern astrology we talk about the things we like,
Hmm.
the the things we like to do or object we like, or sometimes even develop to the people we like. And it's
Yes.
also another area is very pretty creative. It is
Yes.
interesting if Saturn move into this fun fair, how is it going to behave?
Well, I think there is a sense of seriousness in regards that
Mm-hmm,
have to do with fun and maybe with children. Maybe, and we could take this again to the psychological, because maybe the
mm-hmm,
person doesn't have children. So into the
mm-hmm.
if we take it to the psychological realm, it's your inner child. So maybe
Oh
your inner
yes.
child feels
Mm-hmm,
frustrated or feels judged or
mm-hmm,
feels like they cannot play. So there
mm-hmm.
might be this kind of serious approach to games. The people that when they play a game, they follow the rules. And if you try to break the rules, they go crazy. Could be something like that. Yeah.
I like that expression. They have to play the rule. So in another way, it's kind of a if like if they play with another kid and then the kids always improvise the rule.
Yes, they go
They will totally
crazy.
just went banana. Like this.
Yeah.
But which is true. I think there's a Saturn when Saturn in the fifth house suddenly turn they probably let me use the word. I don't want to say they have no fun, but what they feel interesting, what kind of things they feel interesting is those practical things. If they find something is
Mm.
practical, something is useful, they go, "Oh my God, this is so interesting." Or maybe like you give them a maybe like a can opener, and then they show them how amazing this can opener can do several, or like a Swiss knife and can have a 12 function of a Swiss knife. And I would think, whoa, this is an interesting toy because it's very useful. And you have to tell them, no, it is not a toy, it's a tool.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I think so too. Yeah, I agree. Yes.
Yeah, I think that with the fifth house, they have to find the fun and the interest and enjoy in the practical thing. So they shouldn't say they have no fun or they don't enjoy or or they kind of what's the expression they say with party something, party killer, or party something, you know?
Yeah.
I forget the exact word, but it's like people come to a party and totally destroy the party with that. Just make whole party so boring. You know, that could be the fifth house, starting the fifth house too.
It could be Saturn in the fifth house, but we could say that Saturn in the fifth house would go to a different kind of party. Maybe he's not going to go to the party where everybody
Conference.
gets drunk. Yeah. He could go to a conference, for instance, something like that. And for them, that's a party. They're like, oh, it was such a great gathering, you know.
Mhm.
And then also, I would think you mentioned the idea of creativity and expression in the
Yeah.
fifth house.
Yes. Yes.
So maybe again, with the idea of restriction, sense of limitation, they might
Hmm.
feel that their expression, that they're not valued, that they're not admired for what they
Mm.
bring into the
Oh.
world. So
Okay.
they feel challenged. And again, Saturn takes us to the essence. So
Yeah.
maybe these challenges and these tribulations actually are helping them discover what is it down deep inside that they will have to share, that they feel they need to
Mm.
share, that they have to share with the world, you know.
Okay.
And all of these restrictions will make them will help them kind of polish what they want
Hmm.
to do,
Hmm.
like work through it until they
Hmm.
have finally come to the essence of what they want to express. And
Mm.
then when they express it, they do it in such a mature, clear, stable, practical, um, grounded way that
Hmm.
it's powerful.
Mm. Interesting. Um. So if we move to the next house, because here is a very interesting place, which the traditional view and the modern view are totally different. As I think
Yeah.
also we both learn in the both side, and it's like an interesting way to see either side. It's not contradictory, but it's just like there's a different layer or different lens. I like to see it this way. For example, um the that us doing our modern approach is like because sixth house, well, some people would say is like hell, but the traditional view have a very different way of identify that sixth house is illness rather than health. So we don't really go there. But and one thing is very interesting is about I like that use that way to talk the sixth house is the daily routine.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
like that also. Yeah.
Yeah. So when Saturn move into the sixth house, that means that we practice Saturn theme, or that we working on the Saturn theme every day.
Yeah. I agree. So daily routine is what's going to give you health in the long term, right? If you
Yes.
smoke every day,
Yeah.
you may not have, may not be so healthy. But if you smoke only when you go in a party, well, maybe it's not that bad. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's
Mm-hmm.
what we do is the little things. If you have a lot of sugar every day,
Mm-hmm.
well, then you're probably going to have problems. If you have
Mm-hmm.
once every 2 weeks a
Mm-hmm.
piece of cake, well, probably that sugar is not going to hit
Yeah.
that much, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with Saturn there, I would say that the person feels that these daily routines have to be followed. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
probably very disciplined at their
Oh
work, at
wow.
every
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
in order to make sure they have a good health. Maybe they're very cautious about
Mm-hmm.
what they do or what they don't do to make sure that they have a good health. And maybe it's one of their fears because Saturn is where we have fears.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe one of the fears is that they're going to have some kind of health restriction with this idea of
Mm.
Saturn being a restriction.
Yeah.
Um, and it's interesting because we would say that if Saturn takes you to the essence, then
Mm-hmm.
it's helping you learn when Saturn is in the sixth, it's helping you learn what is the basic things that you need to do every day in order to
Mm.
feel healthy.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a very helpful, and I think that for some people who really looking for themselves, they deserve that good health in the in the with that everyday's care for thing. But well, yeah, I think this is a very interesting from the view of a sixth house and the most in what should I say, simple way. Let me put it this way,
Mm.
because I really don't want to go to like a disease or something, because that is I'm not qualified to talk about that neither. But would be when we much easier to talk about what you do in everyday's life have the impact in your health, and that's I think it's totally understandable.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if you're a medical astrologer, maybe
Hmm.
you will read the whole chart in a different
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. I
But you
think
will
so.
not only like I think one of the reasons why we cannot do we cannot equate. So when you do horary astrology, for
Hmm.
instance,
Yeah.
and the person asks you about a disease, you need to
Hmm.
find a clear significator for the disease. And I think that's
Yeah.
why in horary astrology, maybe the sixth house represents the illness, because you need to find it
Illness.
clear.
Yeah.
You need to see clearly where is
Yeah.
the illness to see
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
it's going to develop, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're a medical astrologer and you take a natal, like a natal
Mm.
chart,
Hmm.
probably you're not going to tell the person if they're going to have a disease or not just by
Mm.
looking at the sixth house. You're going to
Mm.
change the whole approach to the
Oh
chart.
yes. Oh yes.
Why
Yes.
I think, like in modern astrology, if you are not a medical astrologer, you
Mm.
cannot say the sixth house is the houses of disease, because it's not as simple as
True.
that. Like,
That. Yeah.
health is such a complicated matter that requires so
Hmm.
many different systems and
Hmm.
balances.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that for us we take the psychological approach again. So which is, okay, what is it that you're doing every day
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
makes you feel healthy or not?
I think whether you do it in the psychological astrology or not, it is also know your limits. That's another Saturn's a key word. So if like you and me, we don't have like a medicine degree and we are not qualified as a medical
Exactly.
practitioner, and we know our limits, and we know if we say something not clear and say something without totally have fully studied in it, we may cause confusion and we may misleading our client and give them the wrong guiding to somewhere else. And I don't like that, to be honest. And that is a very important about Saturn, is knowing your limits.
Yeah, yeah, we
And
may
so
cause a
you
lot
can,
of damage.
yeah. And I think that is a good thing. So about this, I think Alejo is totally right. If you don't have that kind of qualification and you want to talk about health, be very careful. Let me say that. Be very careful and just don't really what should I say? Don't really want. I really don't want you to hurt someone with with your misunderstanding of a chart or something, and then give a wrong information, and that is not what we want to see. Well, suddenly we become very very cautious and very serious
We became
about
very
that.
serious suddenly, yes.
I think we should stop here because if we continue, I think we will destroy our weekend.
Yes, yes, I think so too. Yes. Yeah, we came to the
So,
essence of it.
well, I think that's enough. Let's have a touch there. And then, so as we promised, next month in the Astro Live, we will talk about the Saturn through seventh house to the 12th house. That's another part of the chart. But before we end today, Alejo, I think you have a few events coming up, right?
Of course, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So on the 30th of March, we're going to do a
Mm-hmm.
webinar, which is called The Astrology of the Hero's Journey. I'm very excited that we're going to do it
Mm-hmm.
with Kim Farley, the
Mm-hmm.
Faculty of Astrological Studies.
Mm-hmm.
So The Hero's Journey is a book. It's an idea that came up from Joseph Campbell. So what
Mm-hmm.
he found out is that there's a structure behind holding
Mm-hmm.
beyond behind I don't know, but it's like there's a structure, there's an inner structure in every
Mm-hmm.
myth,
Uh-huh.
which he calls the monomyth.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the hero's journey. This is the structure of every myth according to him.
Lovely.
So what we're going to do is to look at this hero's journey through
Mm-hmm.
astrology. So we're going to try to find out through the chart, what
Mm-hmm.
is your hero's journey about,
Mm-hmm.
and at what stage of the hero's journey you're in. There are 17 stages. So we're going
Mm-hmm.
to find out. We're going to try to find out at what
Mm-hmm.
stage you are, and also so you can use it for if you're doing consultations, you can use it with your clients. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then something very interesting that I forgot to mention the other day.
Yep, yep.
On the 1st of April,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the 1st of April, I'm going to be teaching a webinar on the difference between the houses and the signs, which is something that I know you
Oh,
love, Rod. That's why I want to
thank
say it.
God. Oh,
Yes.
you are a life savior. You are a beginner savior. Okay, I will highly strongly suggest all the beginner, or even you think I learned in astrology for 10 years, but if you don't know what's different between house and sign, please go to
If you
Alejo.
keep saying when Venus is in the second house, if you keep saying Venus is in her house, you need to come.
Please don't go there.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
God, okay. That's a it is interesting because also some astrologers think, oh, that's how modern astrology interpreted. I say, no, we don't do that.
No, I think it's yeah, that's a confusion.
It's a confusion. It's a confusion, but I think it's very important if you want to sound a little bit more professional, not
Yeah.
like a wishy-washy or like somebody read too much sun sign column. Please, you have to distinguish between sign and house, and that is a very basic, basic, and a basic. So please, and
Yes.
I am going to teach that, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad. If I'm so glad because that would be very, very important for beginner, and I really encourage everyone go to this webinar. Well, so thank you for watching the Astro Night Live, and once a month we will talk about some the subject talking related to the beginner study with astrology and something very interesting. So next week we will talk about the Saturn through the 7th house to the 12th house. Well, next week, not next month, next week, we have the horoscope mundane astrology discussion, and we will focus because it's a springtime. So we will focus on Aries English chat. I'm definitely sure that Lian will be there, and Mark and Louisa will help our regular astrologer from all around the world will join us and have a quick look what's going to happen around the
Yes.
world in 2023. Also, see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye, everyone.